Yes, that's right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here with Deep Space Nine at 9-ish. I am your host, Jeff Mater. We are talking about Season 4, Episode 15, Sons of Mogh. Yes, it's all about Kern, and he wants to die, but nobody else will let him. We have... joined as always. We are joined by my brother, Dave. Dave, say hello.
Hello. Oh, take that logo. There we go. Yes.
We have the Bajoran workers, Kevin and Ashley Millard. Hello. And we have, what do we have? Son of Skelhorn, Davan Skelhorn. How are you?
Not too bad. Did I write that, or did you just imagine that?
I think it was imagined in Stovacor.
Now, Jeff, remember, awesome. I am the elder brother, so you must obey me.
Who's the older brother here? Is it Kern?
No, Worf.
No, Worf.
Okay, I don't.
Did you watch the episode?
I did. I did, but I didn't catch that part. What was that? Oh. Did they say that in this episode?
Yeah, he's like, you're the older brother. I have to do whatever you say. He's like,
like 8 times.
Yeah, he's like, this sucks and I hate it. And if I was the older brother, things would be different.
We know he's the younger brother because he's always whining.
Well, that's debatable.
Okay, maybe that's only true in my family.
That depends on upbringing. These two were not brought up by the same family, Kern and Worf. Kern grew up on Kronos, and we have Worf growing up on Earth. They're children of the same family, but of different worlds.
Yes, Worf also grew up on the farming planet of Gaul.
Okay, what did he farm?
Tomatoes.
Well, that's very difficult.
Whatever Russians like to eat. Beets.
And vodka.
Yeah, potatoes probably. Because there's that episode where he meets the Klingons in like the first season of TNG. Remember, they're like, Galt is a farming planet. What do you like? Farm stuff? Like, was that your thing? Or they're mocking him, just like Kern does.
Okay. So this is all about the Mogh family, but it's also about Dax, and it's about Sisko not putting up with cultural diversity, which he shouldn't because it's murder. There's a lot of that going on in this episode, and every time they do a Klingon episode on Deep Space Nine, I am kind of baffled by the willingness to understand the Klingon culture, because it is kind of like crazy hardcore. Like it's over the top. Like it's like basically like murder me and it's a good thing. And like, I don't know, like some of this stuff, I kind of side with Sisko. I'm on Sisko's side here. Davan, do you understand where I'm coming from? Are you 100% for the cultural diversity that is the Klingon culture?
Well, I don't think you and Sisko really understand what it is to achieve the greatest honor.
Yes. I got it right here. Greatest honor.
We didn't hear that, Dave.
We didn't hear that.
Yeah, we did not hear that.
Oh, no?
No.
Your sound effects have gone the way of my sound effects, Dave.
Oh, that's no. That can't be true, right?
Drinking some blood wine, though.
Klingon blood runs as reddish pink as ever.
You hear that?
Yeah, we heard that.
Yes, and then where else is?
That would be my greatest honor, sir. Besides dying in battle, that would be my greatest honor.
But in case you haven't noticed, this is not a Klingon station, and those are not Klingon uniforms you're wearing.
And even if they were, it would still be messed up, I think, is Sisko's point.
But yeah, it's one cultural nicety too many, I would think. Like you say, you can't really let murder go, even if it is in someone's culture. Not if they're wearing your uniform,
The regulations, we're not talking about some obscure technicality, Mr. Worf. You tried to commit premeditated murder.
But that being said, he lets those two go off on a blood revenge.
He does, but it's a targeted aggression. They try to keep targeting Kern's aggression throughout this episode. They're like, let's get him into a Bajoran uniform. Let's give him the Klingon uniform. And then at the end, we'll get to that. But what they do to him at the end is, honestly, to me, is reprehensible. I know some of you will probably agree with what they did. I do not. I think what they did was wrong.
Like Bashir will not give any biomimetic gel to anybody, but he'll erase someone's memory without their consent.
Yeah, like I don't like. Yeah, whatever happened to the Hippocratic Oath, Bashir? Come on, you like to go around and gallivant and pretend you're James Bond, but you have a job to do, and your job is to stand up for your job title. You're a doctor.
I am a great doctor.
Someone who was like genetically changed without his consent.
Yep.
You think he'd be like, "No, we shouldn't do this."
Is there any argument for like? I feel like the show is trying to get us on the side that like what Worf did and Dax do by the end of this episode is like the right thing. Like, is that?
You want me to get you there? I can get you there, Jeff. I think I can get you there.
Davan, get me there.
Okay. All right. So I was thinking that too, and I was paying close attention because to see if I could see where Worf and Kurn and everyone's coming from, and so they make it very clear that Kurn is like at his wit's end and like has tried probably other methods. Like they get to the point where Worf's just like, well, do this with me. You and I, the sons of Mogh, will, save the Empire ourselves and that type of thing. And he sort of buys that because that sounds very Klingon. So Kurn's like, all right, well, we'll go on your little mission or whatever. And then they go on that mission, and Kurn realizes that, and Worf realizes that those two can't actually work together to achieve this great thing, because Worf can't see, somebody wanting to kill him while he's looking at them in the face, and Kurn can't go along with, being a Bajoran security guard or anything. So, and then in that scene, Kurn has to, kill that innocent Klingon guard, and he says, "My dishonor is complete." Mm-hmm. So in that scene, Kurn has gotten to the point where he feels like there is no possible redemption for him, and
rock
there
bottom.
already
He's
wasn't
at rock
really
bottom.
Yeah, he's at rock bottom, and he can't see a way out of that. Worf can't think of a way out of that. He even asks Dax. He's just like, I have no idea what to do. And I think Worf was pretty much open for any plan. Kurn was open for, no plans, essentially. He was at his wit's end.
Kurn was broken.
So yeah, Kurn was broken. Worf was feeling responsible for the whole thing, of course.
Right.
And I think he was willing to take any avenue out of it by the end of that. Because, like, they get to the end of the episode, and Dax is like, you sound like you're going to go back to the Mock Tovar again.
Can you, Dave, can you just quickly explain what the backstory is of why Worf is responsible for the House of Mogh being stripped of its titles? They kind of explained it in the episode. Can you just give us a little backstory?
Well, sure. So this was all set up in The Way of the Warrior, which was the season 4 premiere. So what are we here into episode 15? So 15 episodes later here. So Worf, when he comes to the show, it's a big dramatic thing where Gowron has this secret plan to invade Cardassia because the Klingons believe that changelings, the Dominion, has infiltrated the Cardassians, and so therefore they want to go fight. And they had this, and then Worf gets a Klingon drunk and gets the secret plan and tells the Federation. And then when Gowron says, "Glory awaits you on Cardassia, join me, Worf, and go fight," and Worf goes, "No, I can't support this. This is stupid." And he's like, "Listen, man, if you go against me, I have to strip you of everything. Blah blah blah. Like, your family will have nothing," because Worf's family was a very powerful, important family in the Empire at that time, not that long ago. He was in good with Gowron, and he kind of threw it all away. And to Gowron, and to Kurn's point, Kurn is right that it doesn't really affect Worf in the same way, because he didn't live in the Empire. He didn't have to kind of deal with like the direct fallout of it, even though it hurts him, and it certainly was not easy for him to do. It was maybe perhaps even harder on Kurn. It wasn't even Kurn's decision, right? He had to just deal with what his brother decided. And I always thought that like Gowron's punishment here was always excessive. I never really understood it because I just thought that they wanted to give this incredible hardship to Worf's character on Deep Space Nine, like they had done in TNG.
I think it's realistic though, Dave, because I think this is what chancellors or governors or presidents will do. They will throw a whole bunch of leverage. Dictators will do this. It's the idea that, like, you know, if you cross me or you screw me, I will make life miserable for you and your family. You know? Yeah, I guess so. But hear me out. Like, they do this in Deep Space Nine a bunch of times. Like with Quark, when he has the FCA thing come and they take, no Ferengi can do business here and blah, blah, blah. And then they do it with Odo when they make him a solid for a while. And even, I don't know, like, but those are the main examples I can think of. Yeah. Right. But they already done this with Worf on Next Generation, where he had to accept just commendation and he'd had no honor. And then he got it back and he was in good with Gowron. And sometimes I just think that the writers, they throw away some good stuff. I never really liked this, what happened to Kern. I always thought it was quite tragic. I don't know if it really, it's sad. It's a really sad episode. Ultimately, even though like the silver lining in it, I was like, oh, this is like the beginning really of the Jadzia and Worf romance in some ways. And I really think that Sisko shines as distinct. He stands apart, especially from Picard in this episode. Yes. When he's dressed, when he's like, screw this shit, I'm not tiptoeing around Klingons anymore. Yeah, and he tells O'Brien off. I'm not dealing with you, O'Brien. I'm already dealing with Dax defending him. And he's like, oh, I've known Worf longer. I'm not even the one who gets to vouch for Worf. I mean, Avery Brooks is a hell of an actor, because at the same time, we have our fifth guest, Jaemeel J, son of John. How are you? Are you ready to talk about a little Tony Todd action in this episode? Are you crying? Are you sad?
No, I'm not sad, because
one
day he will end up and see the glorious shores of Sto-vo-kor.
Right. That's all he really wants at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yes. True.
I was going to say about Avery Brooks, I mean, what a great actor that he is, because on one case in this episode here, he's doing, I will not deal with your cultural diversity, Klingons, and then he's doing at the same time American History X, and a complete opposite end of the spectrum, where it's all about, like, he's trying to teach cultural diversity to a neo-Nazi. So, like,
there is a limit to how far I'll go to accommodate cultural diversity among my officers, and you've just reached it.
That's right. I think that this episode, you're right, Dave, though, because Picard is a bit of a fanboy toward the Klingon culture throughout the TNG run. Like he's doing all like the ceremonial stuff, and
Chadich.
Yes. And I just remember, like, Sisko's like just not having any of it, and that's what I kind of respect about Sisko, because he's like, I got a station to run. I like the Bajoran stuff. Okay, I'm not doing the Klingon stuff. Okay,
he's like, even daddy of another culture. I don't need a second one.
Yeah, Kevin and Ashley. Let's look at this from Sisko's point of view. If you're the commander of this station and you're basically your second in command, that's a Starfleet officer, is killing people, not alone his own brother, or trying to. He didn't actually kill him, but you know what I mean. How is Sisko supposed to take this?
I feel like I would yell for a little more than 45 seconds. Like,
and I wouldn't put up with Dax. Like,
right. I probably wouldn't let him just walk out of my office and then be alone with Kern again in sickbay.
Right.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about Bashir than Sisko. Bashir just Worf comes in. Bashir's like, he's gonna be okay. I'll leave you two alone. Right after he tried to murder him.
Odo goes, you better hope he lives, or you're gonna be charged with murder, but not attempted murder, apparently.
No.
That's not Bajoran law. Bajoran law. You gotta
To be fair, attempted murder would be Odo walking with anyone in the promenade. So
that's right.
True.
That's right.
I'm just saying.
The only reason Kern lived is because Odo wasn't in the room when Worf stabbed him.
Odo's just like, do or do not. There is no try. No attempted murder in his brig.
It would have been hilarious had Odo been the ceremonial knife and just like
just this was a sting.
Or he was the candle.
Yeah, he was beside the ceremonial knife.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the Bajoran storyline here. With Kira and O'Brien are on the runabout, and they're driving back. I don't know where they are, from the Cardassian border or something like that. They're Bajoran colonies. I don't know what they were doing. It really doesn't matter what they were doing. They're coming back, and all of a sudden they see they're picking up weird tack. All right, first of all, Kira's asleep
For 7 hours.
for 7 hours, and she's sleeping in the most uncomfortable looking way. She's
Like
got her
sleeping like this on a desk with bright fluorescent lights above her. When there's a bed in the back of the.
No, she's going like this though, Dave. That's enough.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my question:
What
how does O'Brien just like beep beep beep, just like press buttons and pilot the ship, which is basically flying itself anyway, for 7 hours? What is he doing? Not even listening to music? Not like is he just like staring at the controls?
He complains for 7 hours. Come on, it's O'Brien.
He goes,
like,
Keiko.
Keiko's
Keiko's on Bajor.
7 more
He's
bars.
married to Keiko and he's best friends with Bashir. He's just happy for some silence.
Yeah. He's like, Garrick's taking my shift with Bashir at lunch this week. I'm good.
Go back to Bajor and your plants and Sabar. See if I care.
It's a classic.
So Kira wakes up because for 7 hours. It's a long time.
Tech manuals.
And all of a sudden they see like some tachyon readings, and so there's a high energy discharge, which say that 5 times fast. And Davan, their Starfleet and a Bajoran officer, I feel like they should have figured out that this could have been a minefield before Worf figured it out. What do you think?
Yeah, they probably should have. I mean, Chief should have known that. He even knew it exploded like 10 meters or whatever, 10 kilometers, I guess he said, off the starboard side or whatever. You know, Chief should have known that for sure. This is the ship, actually, the Dravana.
That's actually the Vorcha class ship.
Yeah, that's it here. The Dravana. It even has a cloaked mines power.
But at first, it's actually, isn't it a bird of prey that tells them to buzz her off, and then then they're like, okay, all right, well, don't shoot us. We're in a runabout after all. I
thought it was the Dravana the whole time, but I could be wrong.
No. At first, it's a bird of prey, I believe.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And the bird of prey tells them to get lost, and so they do.
Is it? You all know like the O'Brien must suffer thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think it could equally be stated that Worf must suffer. The writers don't really like him any more than
Odo.
O'Brien. And I get the feeling like behind the scenes, like the higher ups didn't want Worf to have any family, and writers kept giving him family members, and they're like, "Oh God, now we're just gonna have to get rid of another one."
I have no family,
and that just kept happening.
I think there's definitely parallels between O'Brien and Worf. Like both her fathers, both are kind of absent from their families a lot.
They come from the Enterprise,
and when they come around, they'd rather be like drinking or gallivanting and doing different things. It seems like there's a lot of that going on with O'Brien and Worf. Jaemeel, does that track? Does that logic?
It track. It's absolute logic. It makes perfect sense. Worf, in his heart of hearts, wants to like live this life that seems unattainable, which is he wants to have a successful house, successful Starfleet career. He wants people, but he doesn't want people. He wants to be like a Klingon warrior, but he doesn't want to be. He doesn't feel like he's a Klingon warrior. Doesn't feel like he's up to the same thing. He's a man that's his feet are in like halfway between everything. He's like in the middle of this Venn diagram, and he just feels out of place. And I think he's also felt comfort in that he's like, you could just see him if he was younger. It's like, I'm just a lone warrior, living my own path.
Lone wolf.
Not Klingon, not human,
I have remained vigilant.
I think there's a lot there that's true. Like, I think the fact that let's get a little bit to this ritual.
The Mogh.
The Mogh. There's a bunch here, like for a brother, let alone an older brother, to stab his younger brother in the very ribcagey chest that they reveal here. I've never seen a Klingon's chest before, but what the makeup artist, kudos. But for him to just have the capacity to do that, let alone your Klingon culture, I think says something about Worf.
It says for 1 minute he was truly Klingon.
Was he? I think he was truly a bad brother.
Well, maybe he was speaking about all the times his brother was annoying the hell out of him. And if you had a sibling, you probably said, like, can I just, like, one time, just like, just once, please.
He didn't grow up with his brother. He doesn't really know his brother.
Look, I mean, you spend any time with any type of sibling. It doesn't matter the age.
Well, these are all true facts. But, I mean, the problem...
Why don't you guys tell us about that, Jeff and Dave?
Yeah, we're getting some echo off you guys.
I would hope Dave would never stab me in the chest, even if I asked him to, for some sort of stupid ritual.
I understand why Worf goes along with it, quite frankly. Like, I get when Kurn shows up and he lays this guilt trip, and it's true. It's true. Worf did do this move. It did have consequences. And Kurn does have some legitimate grievances, I think, to throw at Worf here, even though Worf, looking back, what was Worf going to do? Like, yeah, I'm going along with you, Gowron, and we're going to kill a bunch of Cardassians.
But that's the point I want to get to here, Dave, is why not direct this energy toward Gowron? Like, there's this whole sentiment of the Empire is kind of like the supreme being, and we can never go against the Empire, and we're Klingons, this is who we are, and blah 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 blah, and they kind of get to a point at the end of the episode where it was like, no, like, do this with me, and we can kind of come around and go against Gowron, because we even though we're going against our people, we're actually doing the thing that's for our people, is kind of the sentiment that is brought up. So I think that a lot of this cultural stuff that's going on here is misguided and misplaced. Davan, am I completely off base?
No, I think they should have took it a little step further when he was trying to convince Kurn to go on this, grand, glorious mission with him. He should have just turned it into a blood revenge against Gowron. He's like, hey, Kurn, let's just not rest until we eventually kill Gowron. And he would have been like, that's makes sense to my Klingon honor, and it would have been fine.
I think
he just needed something to do with his life. He's like, I have nothing to do. It's just like, you could kill Gowron.
Why did he take a swing at him when everything was being taken away? He would have at least
in the chambers.
Well, no, couldn't he have formally charged him to a duel, or isn't there something like that in I think we dealt with that in the episode.
I think you still have to, not just anyone can challenge the Chancellor for leadership. I think you actually have to be involved in the political process.
But he was on the council.
He lost his house, though. It was already
right, but only Worf could challenge, it seems like, and Worf doesn't choose to, because Worf doesn't want to be Chancellor. Even though he later does do this, like this challenge to Gowron that he does later in season 7. Maybe that's what maybe it's the lesson he learns from season 4 here, is that because he didn't stand up to Gowron at the time, all this other bad shit happened, and then when when Sisko's like, Gowron's got to get out of the way, and Worf's like, I got you, right? And he does it later on. I think that I think he's like, yeah, my brother, I lost him, basically, like he's still alive is the net outcome of this episode. He still lives, but he doesn't remember his life. He doesn't remember me. He has this, it's very tragic. And I think also too with Kern saying to him, they have this discussion later on the episode. Why did you oppose going against the Federation? And Kern doesn't say, oh, because it was dishonorable to attack the Cardassians. He goes, no, it's because the Federation are going to kick our asses. The Klingons we underestimate the Federation, but they could beat us in a war
with their soft beds.
Yeah, with their soft beds and their furniture and their medical doctors.
Of course, the Federation would beat them. They send one ship to defend against the Dominion. One ship.
The ships in reserve.
The Klingons are not very bright tactical commanders. Like they claim they have a big boastful ego, but really at the end of the day, they're just a bunch of grunt workers.
They're a horde.
They're a horde. Yeah, they're like the Zerg in StarCraft. They just send everything and they see who dies and who lives, and then they hope they count the pieces left over.
Well, think about it. They breed a lot faster. Their gestation period is much shorter. They're full grown adult. Very like Alexander becomes an adult in like 6 years, right?
Well. Roman Rashenko? Is that
Rashenko? And he's a quarter human, right? But think about it, they got redundant lungs and organs and everything, and they and if they live even long times if they don't die an honorable death or dishonorable death for that matter. It does they just seem to have the numbers, Jeff. They breed a lot, and they get a lot of soldiers, and they're just pumping out ships and armies and. All the time.
Make it sound like the Dominion, Dave.
Almost but Dominion takes it to a whole new level with the cloning and everything else, right? That's what these Jem'Hadar have no honor. They're not even drinking and screwing and stuff. That's what the point.
Well, it is. There's a lot of parallels to be made between the Klingons and the Jem'Hadar. Like they're both like the breeding. They're very much about tactical combat and all that kind of stuff, and they fascinate one another. There's a lot that comes up in the next season. But the Klingons are more natural, organic. They're more tactile, whereas the Jem'Hadar are more technologic. Yeah, like they're more they have a more tactical approach to everything they do. It's more systematic, I guess is a good way to put it.
But
victory is life. That's right.
Football is life.
Whereas what did the Klingons say? It's what would be their victory?
Today is a good day to die.
Right. So very different sentiments in a lot of ways.
Which is what Kern was trying to say this whole episode.
Right.
And today, it's like no.
Today,
but it's a good day to die. Come on,
but not this day.
But let's bring up the conundrum that also comes up in this episode, where it's a bit toward the end, but he has a disruptor aimed at his own body, and he's like, "Why can't I just kill myself? What's up with that? Why is suicide a dishonorable way to go?" And Worf goes, "You don't want to do that. You'll never get to cross the river."
The river of blood.
Right. The river of blood to go to Sto-vo-kor, which is very, parallels the river of Styx to, the boatmen and cross the river Styx and all that kind of stuff. But, what we have here, I think, is he even says, well, that's not so bad. I'll go to the underworld and hang out with all the Dishonored dead or whatever. At least I'll be around Klingons. He says that. Jaemeel. Is that a better fate than changing his memory?
No. Wait. Were those the only two options? All right. There's a whole bunch of he could literally just throw a punch at a bunch of Klingons and have one of them kill him, right? Instead of some weak dude with a blaster that he confronts in his freighter. There's he could have been frozen. He could have he could have joined some mercenary group and
I think he should have joined the Maquis.
Yeah, grow tomatoes.
He could grow tomatoes with Eddington.
You know how hard it is to grow tomatoes?
Addington could show him his Lucky Looney.
He definitely would have got killed if he joined the Maquis.
No, I think he kills Eddington and
true,
takes
eventually.
over.
He takes over.
My lucky Looney.
There you go. I was waiting for it.
If he should have asked anyone on that station to kill him, it should have been Quark.
Yeah, got him that ganji.
Garrick has shown he can be hired to do that.
Oh yeah,
Garrick would have done it. Yeah.
We've already
You know,
established that Ducat would kill him.
I just would have been like, Worf should
Being
have
killed by a Cardassian tailor is kind of unglorious.
Yeah, no, he had to die in like the ritual or whatever. Like there's a lot of rules around getting into Stovacor and honorable death and non-honorable death. And
does Quark still have his house? I totally forgot.
They went back to Grilka.
Okay.
Oh no, House of Quark. No, it went back to Grilka. But
Call Grilka. Well, I doubt she would be able to come.
But doesn't Gowron say to Worf, like, if you do this, you will lose everything and you will do nothing. You'll have nothing. He goes, well, except my honor, you know? But apparently not even that. And I agree with you, Jeff. Like, I think that the doctrine of the Klingon culture is kind of ridiculous because it's saying, like, if you go against the chancellor, if you go against, like, the head of state or the head of government more specifically, you are not with the like with us. And they even say that the emperor opposed the invasion of Cardassia, right? But he didn't get like stripped of his titles and thrown out of the thing. So why did Worf have to be such this like why did he have to take the brunt of all this? It doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, when you're Klingon, you just punch down. That's it. You don't punch up, you punch down.
It doesn't seem honorable to do this to him.
I think they're trying to like make a point with the Klingon culture here that this blind allegiance to a leader that has misguided intentions is very detrimental to the people. And we see it in this episode. We see how Kurn, like, we have a great conversation in this episode where Worf kind of challenges Kurn and says, like, did you disagree with the invasion of Cardassia? And he's like, it doesn't matter if I disagreed with it or whatever, right? He's like, but did you disagree with it? Answer me this, right? And there's that whole great exchange. And he's like, yes, I did, you know? And Tony Todd, you know, eats up the scenery and gives a great performance. But there's a lot going on there where you can see the struggle between their actual personal opinion and what they should believe based on Klingon precedent. And I think this is misguided. I think this is like Worf's the one character that seems to challenge that, but it's because he's in the Federation and even he has a hard time with it. You know, Kevin and Ashley, like, what can Kurn do here to kind of like, I don't know, fight back against this incessant need to follow Klingon tradition? Could he have, like you're saying, go and just attack the guys on the ship that are doing the minefield? Or could he have done something that was, I don't know, honorable to, like, is it a personal thing of honor, or is it like what Klingon tradition says is honor? Who decides who goes to Stovacor? Is it Gowron? You know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
Can he? Oh,
I'm not sure. It's murky. It seems like it's more based on the situation. Kind of like if you go against the Pope, you get excommunicated. It's the same thing.
Right.
There's really any real rules around that.
Right.
Can he sleep on his arm and then stab himself?
Maybe.
I think he gets into Stovacor if he can control his arm after falling asleep on it.
I don't feel that I killed myself.
See, we're bringing up the idea of a suicide mission, which I also think is not honorable because it's the word suicide is in the mission. It needs to be an honorable mission where you die. You know,
like
Klingons go on suicide missions all the time.
Exactly.
Right.
But if they get taken prisoner, they're supposed to kill themselves.
Just to die.
Right.
Yeah.
Jeff, if they get taken prisoner, they're supposed to kill themselves.
Which gives me an idea. They should have just put him in the brig and told him he's never getting out.
Would they be dishonored dead? if they killed themselves while being a prisoner.
I think
no, because they're allowed to do that. They're supposed to do that.
No, they're allowed
but they're
to.
probably dishonored if they get captured on purpose.
Who decides that? Like, well, who like do they get to the river and go, well, let me look at your ledger.
Oh.
Well, it says here that
It's same as
you
like
killed
any
yourself
religion.
after being captured. So on the boat you go. You know, is that kind of how it works?
I think it's what's true in your heart, right? Like if you're doing it right or not. Like it's
doing it right.
I don't know. Like it's the doctrine
like what we've
of
seen,
the culture.
Catholicism. Then.
I think what we've
Did
seen in
not
Voyager
Jesus
too,
kill
right?
himself then? Technically, didn't
Barge
Jesus
of the
kill
Dead.
himself?
Barge of the Dead. Yeah, that's a Voyager episode.
Wow.
Yeah, like you either wake up on the Barge of the Dead on your way to like the hell place, or you wake up by the river and go to
You
Stovall.
go to Grithor or you go to Stovall. Those are your two options.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they wake up on by the river or on the barge.
But there's also like a purgatory, which was dealt with in the show Star Trek Online, which dealt with a lot of these issues.
Not canon.
Not canon.
Not canon, but
but do you get into Stovall if you kill yourself instead of wearing an uncomfortable Bajoran uniform?
Well, that's a
Dave,
great
what
question.
do you say?
I say no.
We haven't brought that part of the episode up yet, but yes, Kern, after he wakes up from being stabbed by Worf and being saved by Bashir and Dax and Odo, goes to work for Odo
for a day.
And that's actually pretty good at the job, but then he makes a crucial mistake. He decides to let another guy shoot him, basically. And Odo can't have it. Yeah, he had a death wish, and a death wish is no security officer that I will employ, Odo says.
Are we skipping over the fact that like Odo's like, yeah, I'm surprised you want me to do you a favor. I'm in your debt, and like I aim to collect.
I collected those. Yeah, I got some.
You'll find I'm a man who collects on his debts.
That's a weird scene.
What does that mean?
Which we see in other
What does
episodes.
this mean?
Odo does
What does
collect
this
on his
mean?
debts.
I can appreciate how difficult it is to ask for a favor, especially from me.
I can appreciate how difficult it must be for you to be asking for a favor, especially from me.
Especially in the
I
last
get that.
episode, they
I get
seem to
that.
be getting along.
Yeah, at this point, they don't have a conflict at this point.
Well, it's like what? It's like 12 episodes or something into Worf
15.
actually being there, and they had all that strife in the beginning about who's running security, and Worf was all on his case all the time about not being diligent enough and that sort of thing. So they, you know, they had a rocky start, those two.
It's
I
all
just
about
felt like they bonded last episode over
Make
not
sure
wanting people to
everyone
come to
knows
their
they can't
quarters.
just drop by your quarters.
That's
to say
true.
Hello. If
That
someone
was-
does,
that was awesome.
whatever happens, don't make them feel welcome.
Of course not. Of course
He's taking his own advice there. Don't make them feel welcome.
I'm making you, and then at the end of this, he goes,
I'm indebted to you.
Yes, you are.
Okay. I feel like, all right, something we haven't brought up here in this episode and we need to talk about is Dax. Okay, we brought up the beginning part where we get the romance and the whole little battle thing they do at the beginning of this episode, and they kind of do this a few times where it's a little bit of a love dance, and she's wearing the revealing I don't know, suit that she's wearing for combat.
You thought by distracting me with your outfit, you would gain an advantage.
Right. And she, you know, there's all the flirting going on, and that's all cute and stuff.
awesome. It's awesome. Ask me about it.
Okay.
Don't ask him. Don't ask him.
Jaemeel.
Yes.
I have a question for you about Dax in this episode.
Go ahead.
Is she actually sorry about interrupting this Klingon ritual? Why does she really goes out of her way to do it?
This is the question that you asked me. I thought we were talking about that whole sequence.
Okay, let's talk about that sequence.
Yes, my man.
Do you say Icha to this sequence, or do you say Movek?
Icha.
You say Icha.
Ooh, Icha.
And I see your point. But are you overconfident about the chemistry that these two have?
Yeah. She's feeling him, and he's feeling her. Facts.
Yeah, she's feeling him a little bit more than I think he's feeling her. She's kind of like, you know, come along for the. I know you're gonna field me eventually, but I don't know. At first, I feel like Worf is really being brought along on this ride.
He's very reserved. So
yes,
like the little bit that is there is a lot from his standards. That's why
he's willingly on the ride.
Yeah,
he's just.
But he's sitting at the back.
He's feeling her, but Worf likes to deny himself what he wants.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And she's sitting right at the front, and she's like, "Come sit with me at the front." And he's like, "I will sit in the middle."
What does that mean? A busybody.
We find out in TNG that he thinks non-Klingon females are fragile as well. So
yes.
He was a little nervous.
Ha ha ha! Yeah, he laughs at Guinan about it. Jeff, this is a great romance. Jadzia, Dax, and Worf. This is the beginning of it. I never even realized how it's actually in The Way of the Warrior. I saw it more in The Way of the Warrior. And then here, when he's like, "You thought your outfit," and then you see when she turns around, she has like this smile. She's like, "Yeah, I wore it. I wore it for Worf." You know, and he's kind of oblivious. He doesn't realize how much she's sending him signals.
Do you know what I did think when I was watching this scene, Dave? I was like, this is how Dave views his relationship with Jane. That is what I thought. I was like, Dave's the Worf, Jane is the Jadzia.
And we're debating like she's got the Batleth, I've got the Mechleth, and you know who's got the better reach, and what's the classic argument?
Right, right of your wedding. So
I feel like you guys have probably done that whole scene.
He's not as much into the Klingon stuff as I am, but yeah.
No, I don't mean that as a diss.
Not anymore.
No, not at all.
Genuine thing.
Dave, can I get how you feel about the term busybody? What does that mean? Can you elaborate on that?
Well, Jeremy says it means always putting her nose where it doesn't belong. Is that that's what he meant by busybody? I would infer. And well, she kind of does. Yeah, that is one of her things, and especially here, she was like, "What did Worf get? A Ganji? What would he want that? Oh my God, he's going to kill his brother!" And then like it's like this emergency thing. So yeah, she does kind of jump in here and like.
What was the alternative though?
Let Worf do it, and then Worf would have been arrested. So she actually. But on the other hand, I think she is legit. I think she legitimately does apologize. I think she does. Like, I think it's she's conflicted. She understands and values Klingon culture and values and traditions and their doctrine because of the Curzon influence in particular. In the past life, and so I think that Jed's here's of both worlds. And like, okay, question here too is like when Sisko really gets dibs into, like he says like I've given you guys so much slack.
Now, I have given you both a lot of leeway when it comes to following Klingon traditions.
What leeway has he given them?
What?
Like,
Dax was able to go on blood revenge.
Yeah, he did let her go on.
Yeah, he had to go.
That was before
kill an
Worf.
albino.
And yeah,
and
what has he done for Worf? Oh yeah, good point.
he lets Worf.
Some smaller things that didn't make it to the show.
Yeah.
I think Worf would be like, I just got here, like leeway, like
maybe some Klingon opera and ops or something like that. Something that didn't make it to the show.
Okay.
He lets two of his officers combat train with like no safeties.
Is that maybe that's okay? I can buy that.
There's a bunch of things that's not normal for most Starfleet captains to have to deal with. Worf is a certain circumstance, and then also Dax because of she's unique with all of her different lives, right? So the whole Klingon thing I think is tough for Sisko because the Klingon culture, it's a bit messed up from human standards. I mean, it really is. It goes too far in a lot of ways that we humans especially would be like, come on, like this is messed up. Like, I know you guys.
Well, Esri put it best, didn't she?
What did she say?
Oh, she's just like the Klingon Empire is dying, and she just thinks it deserves to die.
Let them die.
She's like, because it's deeply hypocritical. Like, it's all about honor and stuff, but it's so corrupt at the highest levels. And she's just like, Worf, have you ever respected anybody in the High Council, like, ever? And he's like, well, no. So, it's crumbling. Like, it's got a lot of problems at this point in history that it's at.
But so do the Ferengi, and here's this comment we're saying like Dax embraces both cultures, even though the Ferengi and the Klingons hate each other.
Thank you very much, though, Davan, for bringing up a great point of why Ezri is in some ways better than Dax, than Jadzia, because Jadzia is blindly loyal to the Klingon way of thinking in a lot of ways, and in this episode, she shows that she's going to say no. I am going to stop this ritual. And this is kind of the point I wanted to bring up earlier. Davan, why is she is she a Starfleet officer first? Is she a Klingon respecter of culture and traditions? What comes first for her? Because it's kind of confusing sometimes when she decides.
I think Federation comes first, or she wouldn't have stopped the ritual. I think. And I think that's the case with Worf too. Like he even says, I tend to think of it like murder too. I tried not to, but it's just how it seems to me. I do think this episode does inform the end of the season as far as Gowron goes, though, because at the end Gowron basically goes crazy, but I feel like they actually did set it up as more of a slow burn, like because he's already trying to like foment war with the Federation, which is crazy, and so the downfall of Gowron I think is being set up pretty good here.
Yeah, it is, and it's definitely interesting because Gowron is not infallible. Like he needs someone to challenge him, I think, and with everything that's going on with Martok, and we'll get that reveal eventually that he's a changeling. There's really nobody to do that, and it has to kind of be Worf, and so we're gonna get there. But Gowron, as great as he is, you can only take so much. Worf. Before he
What is this?
What is this?
You're like a toothless old Krishna cat, trying to frighten us with your roar.
Can I get like a play production of him playing like Scarface?
I feel like we need
say hello to my little friend.
Yeah, we need to take all of it and put it into like some kind of a computer so they can make Gowron say anything, and then we'll just feed him lines from.
It'd be great if we could take some of his lines and then insert them into other movies and just to see. That'd be great.
You cockroach!
I would love Gowron Way's voice in the car.
Yeah. Turn left.
No.
I gotta look that up. I'm gonna look that up right now.
One more right to your house. In 500 meters, the exit is on your right. Glory awaits you on Cardassia. Glory awaits you at the gas station.
Gowron's not even in this episode.
Can the guy who's playing Gowron please contact Waze? just
O'Reilly.
Please. I would buy Waze for like $30.
With no irony or sarcasm, I would do almost anything for a GPS that had Gowron's voice.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm looking at the Reddit thing to see if there's any information. You have arrived at your house.
You arrived at your house. Your house is glorious.
There's 215 comments on this.
Back to Tony Tide. We gotta get back to Tony Tide, Jeff.
Okay, well, first I want to get back to so Cisco sends O'Brien and Kira and a bunch of nobodies out on the Defiant to go figure out what's going on with that tachyon stuff, and they find out that there's they see this the Vorcha class ship appear out of nowhere with a house-sized explosion in the side of it. They're wondering what's going on. They don't know, but they're wondering. What do you guys make of? It's a Vorcha cruiser. So they go, okay, we're kind of messed up here. we need your medical facilities. They're like, yeah, we could only like kind of, Bashir's not here. We could maybe like take care of like 2 people. It's a small ship.
It's a pathetic excuse of a sick bay.
It really is. So how about that set's not working today? So how about we tow you back to Deep Space Nine? And they're like, accept it.
They say yes.
Yeah.
It's like it's
what?
shocking. It's shocking that the Klingons agree to this, but they are in bad
We
shape.
accept your glorious offer
To tow us in disgrace to your station while we're trying to mine you inside of your own system.
Right. And so that's kind of when they come back, and at the same time, Tony Todd has been shot. Kern, and the doctor comes out and says, yeah, I fixed him again, which I thought was a good line or whatever. And, Odo says he's out. Worf has to deal with it. And he's like, okay, this is messed up. And then he gets back into the meeting room and they discuss what's going on with these minefields. And they figure out, yeah, it's a minefield. That's what they figure out what's going on, which I find weird that Kira and O'Brien have no idea. Only Worf could figure this out, that they're using cloaked mines.
Sets up later in the series too. Cloaked mines. That comes back.
That comes back.
He said it's dishonorable to do so.
They also mentioned that mines, putting mines around a system is an act of war, right? And so I think it like when they mine the wormhole, like, and Weyoun shows up and says, remove the mines or we are going to war. It's not really unexpected that the Dominion would react like that, really.
It's like the mine. This was the wormhole was in the Bajoran system. You can mine all your own shit all you want.
Okay.
And the Dominion's not from the Alpha Quadrant. Only the guys Cardassia was.
But who does the wormhole belong to?
The prophets.
The Bajorans. It's the prophets' home, basically, right? It's their temple.
So the Gamma Quadrant has no stake on the wormhole?
That's a good point.
Not on that side of the wormhole. And actually, the real act of war is the Federation continually going into the Gamma Quadrant after they have been told to stop.
Yeah. And then the Romulans give them a cloak just so they can go pal around in the Gamma Quadrant. And it's super secret.
Yeah.
So the Federation isn't above reproach. They're and then there's the whole Section 31, and we'll get to that. But season 4 has a lot to get to. But there's a lot going on with the Federation that does they're not always about morals and doing the right thing.
Yeah, you got some buzzing going.
Who does?
Gavin.
Yeah, I was about to message because I could just see Dave freaking out about the buzzing.
You made him leave, Dave.
Like Dave was like an audible. He's like this.
It was buzzing.
I know, but you can keep it cool. Like, hey, Dav, you might.
It was as uncomfortable as a Bajoran uniform.
Yeah. I was getting used to it before someone shot me.
It's like a Federation bed.
It just doesn't sit well on the skin, on the 8 rib cages that he had.
Does the Federation make any mistakes with its furniture?
Yeah, that was a good line.
Like what?
Yeah, they don't even like. He's just so pissed at Worf. He's like, "You love these Federation fucks," like everything about them. I mean, he's not a Bajoran station that's built by Cardassians. Like it's not even a Federation bed or couch for that matter.
Okay, let's get a little bit to the scene here where we have Worf kind of talking about like whether or not he would ever return to the Klingon homeworld and take his rightful heir as the son of Mogh, and which is the title of this episode. And even if he did, he doesn't feel like that he would belong there. Dave, what again? Just what it seems to be his big problem is Gowron, not the Klingons or the Klingon homeworld.
Yeah, I agree. Like it seems like that. You're right that's where he should focus his rage, but he doesn't.
He doesn't. He makes it like they keep conflating to me the Klingons and Gowron, like it's kind of what Kevin said. The Pope is the Catholic religion, but is he?
Well,
Jesus
how
would
much of this can you blame on Gowron? Because Gowron's like, hey, listen, man, if you go against us, even I can't bail you out of this. But is that true? Like, how much of this is in Gowron's control, and how much of it isn't?
I think it's completely in Gowron's control. It's
Yeah.
like 110% in Gowron's control.
So he disgraced Worf and Kern and all of this just because he didn't. It was like he didn't want the negativity, right? Like around.
It's kind of like when like a general and the president dishonorably discharges them for like not doing what he says, which is kind of reminds me of the Bay of Pigs in a lot of ways, like where Kennedy got rid of like a bunch of generals and some people in the CIA and dishonorably discharged them for lying to him and saying we need to invade Cuba, and that came. Look what happened to Kennedy. But there's.
I believe he was worried more about Cuba.
Oh, he cut out on me there. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, I didn't hear.
Yeah, I didn't hear
him. He started to say something, but then I missed.
Say that again, Davan.
Is he there?
Yeah.
Oh,
hello. Nothing.
Okay.
Hear you.
Say what you said again, Davan.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just saying, you were saying about Kennedy and Cuba. I said actually Kennedy was concerned about Cuba.
Cuba.
Yeah.
He did say Cuba. On the islands of Cuba.
Cuba. Is that like Chicago?
It's like Chicago.
But that is a good parallel because Worf, they say in this episode that the next chancellor may have been from the House of Mogh.
That's right.
So they're high up.
They were, yeah. It's so sad because you're like, Worf, your family and everything you got back, and you threw it all away. But did he or not?
It would be like Riker turning on Picard.
Right. But it's kind of like when we go back to the Kennedy, like look what happened to Bobby Kennedy. Like the Kennedy family was like destined to be like this son of Mogh type family in American politics, and it didn't work out that way, And so like there's a lot of things going on here with Gowron that and this is very true of politics, that when you have power, you try to hold on to it for dear life, and one wrong step and then all of a sudden you and your whole family can be almost wiped out in a way. And this is the kind of like this episode kind of shows like the ramifications of what can happen, like especially to your immediate family. And here with Kern and the Tony Todd performance here, his second in the season, by the way, and his second best. I mean, the Visitor is a better performance in this, but this one's good, right. and this one's probably heavier, in a lot of ways.
I want my fucking money.
I don't listen to soft shit. And Kern definitely doesn't listen to soft shit. I get the feeling that he's a Pantera guy. I think maybe some Judas Priest, something pretty hard. I think Kern would listen to. Davin.
Excuse me, but what about the fucking money?
What about the fucking money? And what band?
Well, okay, I'll tell you about the money. Say, what was that again?
So what band would Kern listen to?
Oh, jeez. Vorkcha and the Negvars. That's an inside Locutors of Trek joke.
He listened to Sons of None. That's a Star Trek Online in joke. Not
Baltimore Fish, Dave. Baltimore Fish.
He would love Baltimore Fish.
He'd like some of that Klingon acid punk.
His delivery,
it's Klingon acid punk.
His portrayal of Kern is so good, though. He like constantly frowns unless he's saying a word, and he smiles when he says any word. So it's like frown, smile, frown, smile. It's just like, yeah, Kern's awesome. Maybe the best Klingon as far as like delivery. Just like the way he says every word too, with your like dead bird meat and like.
Kern?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kern just
everything
like
he says is like every word is a sentence.
How long has this bird been dead? It appears to have been lying in the sun for quite some time.
I definitely
he
noticed
insults Worf with everything he says in this episode. Though. Everything's a backhanded compliment. Even when he's just like, for one moment, you were truly Klingon. He thought he was like complimenting Worf, and really, he's really saying to Worf, "You've never been Klingon your whole life, except for like those 3 seconds in the room there." So it's like, yeah, he's not necessarily nice to Worf.
No, he's not, and he's his younger brother, and he also kind of looks at him as like more of a human in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like that's not how Worf views himself.
No.
Worf definitely views himself as a Klingon first, and kind of just raised by humans in a way.
I am a Klingon! If you doubt it, a demonstration can be arranged.
Foreplay.
He comes to realize he doesn't share their values, though. Like,
yeah.
as much as he thought he did.
Right, but this is again comes to the theme of this episode is that the values of a Klingon to me don't make you a Klingon, but a lot of Klingons seem to feel that way.
Well, I think it's like a lot of cultures, right? Like, what makes my culture what it is? How do you define it? Is it the values of my culture? Is it the traditions? Is it what our deeds? You know, or deeds, glory of song, or you know? And I think that that's a lot of what Worf deals with because he was separated from his Klingon culture from the age of 6. He was raised in an outside culture, right? Had kind of an enemy culture in some ways, right? Like where he's way more aggressive, is not understood. But through that process of growing up among humans, he did come to it changed him. He would not have been the same person, right? And Kern's like, I wish we had grown up together. He's like, I agree, but I wish you had been on the like back in Minsk or whatever, wherever we were with the Roshenkos.
Minsk.
Yeah. I just think that Worf, like even Jadzia brings him around to this later on. He's like, for a guy who like, you know, wears a Starfleet uniform and drinks prune juice, you act like you're a Mr. Klingon, but you're really not. You know, you have this romanticized idea of what it is to be Klingon.
Right.
You look at the best, most ideal parts, but because you weren't immersed in it, you don't see the shittier parts of it. You know, like that.
Yeah.
Like the dude that went to Hawaii for like a weekend and all of a sudden comes back wearing like shells around his neck and talks about like he's turning over a new leaf and start using Hawaiian slang.
Are you also from Hawaii?
Oh, Hawaii.
I was gonna either do that or the moon. So
it's like that old analogy where they say Canada is like the US if aliens were like looking at it for a while and they're like, here you go, we've created your country. It's like Worf kind of has that alien view of Klingons where it's just like he thinks their culture is from this outside perspective that he's gained his knowledge from. So it's like you say, it's more romanticized, it's more dwindled down into their traditions and their stories and
things he likes about it too, right?
But I also think that the Klingons
and the things he likes about it.
The Klingons seem to do this themselves. They seem to have this romanticized version of their own life too, and like Worf just plays along with it. I feel like he's just like, oh yeah, that's the way it is, and like yeah, I'll stab you in the chest because of some ritual, and I will tell you shouldn't kill yourself because you won't cross that river, as if he knows, like there's a bunch of things that are just complete, conjecture and ideas and traditions that are based in like a Bible, right? Where if you read a Bible in whatever part of the world, you're going to have a lot of the same tenets as someone from Italy or, from where the majority of those people are or whatever. And I think at a certain point, what really matters is your personality and how you interpret things and how you really go about things and to say, because he didn't grow up on the Klingon homeworld, he's not Klingon, I think is ridiculous. I think he is Klingon. Does he have the same values? Probably not, but that doesn't mean he's not Klingon.
Right, I agree. I think sometimes what's kind of the sad part is that, Worf should take a more active role in his culture. He's obviously an influential person of note, right? And, if he wanted to challenge Gowron and be the leader of the council before this and probably after this, he probably could have been, but he never really wanted it because he's not somebody who seeks power, and but power is never sought; it's thrust upon people, and people rise to the challenge. I think I saw that recently. Maybe it was Dune.
Dave, we could make the analogy that, like, you and I are Nova Scotians, but we didn't grow up in Nova Scotia. Are we true?
We have this romanticized idea of Nova Scotia, but we're not looking at the corruption, Jeff.
Right.
Like,
now, as a true Klingon, let me tell you fellas about Nova Scotia. It's a hurricane outside right now. Maybe that's where the buzzing's coming from. I don't know.
It's a beautiful
hurricanes. Come home, fellas.
You were born in this.
You were born to this. This is your birthright.
Ironborn.
Okay, let's get to the heavy stuff of this episode, guys. Okay. At a certain point, basically, Worf decides, let's erase Kern's memory, turn him over to a new, older Klingon guy, lie to him when he wakes up. Family friend, friend of the show, and say to him, look, this is who you are. We're going to lie to you, basically, is what's going to happen here. And for the rest of his life, he's going to believe he's someone he's not. And Worf makes this decision for him. There's no, like, Kern says, you know what? Yeah, this is probably the best thing for me. No. Worf decides this. Bashir goes along with it, and Dax is just there. Really, at the end of the day, she's just there for moral support in a lot of ways.
Genetic tampering's okay, but in this situation, it's fine.
Jaemeel, yeah, like, what do you make of this? Like, I think the fact that Kern had no say in this decision is the biggest sin.
So, Kern already kind of gave up. He's like, brother, you know me. Do what's best for me. My life sucks. It's over. I just want to stay in my room and listen to some Coldplay. I don't know. Genetic tampering, like, is the big issue. That's fine. That's fine. We can kill people. We can't kill people. No, because that's wrong. That's against the rules. But genetic tampering, erasing someone's identity, right? Like,
which is kind of more cruel, especially to a Klingon.
Like, what's going on?
I'm mystified that Bashir goes along with this.
Well, there's no. Yeah, it feels like we're missing a scene. I feel like we're missing a scene in between here, where at least, like, the debate and sort of coming to this with Kern present or not was sort of needed, but it was skipped.
Do we know yet? Have we done the episode yet where Bashir's been found out?
Yeah.
Not yet.
We don't know that yet.
Right?
Like, not for 2 years, right?
So yeah, not for, like, at least another year. So the whole thing with this episode is that, like, with Bashir, I guess he's just like, you know what, I'm doing my job, and apparently Worf is his next of kin.
I mean, but if you think about it, Worf and Bashir, they're saving his life. He was absolutely going to kill himself or put himself in a situation where he would be killed. So Worf is trying to save his brother from ending up in Klingon hell. And Bashir is just helping him save a life. And whether Worf didn't need Kern's consent because he's the older brother, and that's Klingon culture.
I'm the elder brother, Jeff. This Klingon culture.
Just watch out, Jeff.
Watch out. Watch out if I might decide your Rodak.
He might give you to another family.
Nogra.
I would get it if it was a Klingon doctor performing this, but Bashir? Like, it doesn't seem
weird,
right.
He probably just wants Worf to be his friend, so he's going along with it.
Yeah.
It's more like there's one scene that maybe make a little sense, which is just when Odo says to Worf, he's just like, a man with a death wish is not only a danger to himself but his whole team. But that you can expand that out to, like, the whole station. They have this entity on the station that's either going to kill himself or get someone else killed, and they just they're seeing a little rock in a hard place here. They're having trouble finding a way out of this one.
I still think he should have joined the Maquis.
That would have been
or the Neighborite Alliance.
Yeah,
the Neighborite Alliance. Yeah, or
I think if they had done a scene here where the whole Mines thing is going on, and he almost got the entire Defiant blown up or set off a self-destruct or something like that, then I think that would have made a little bit more sense. Like they do it with like, oh, he try to get himself killed, but that's only himself. That's a victimless crime other than himself. You know what I mean? Like I think if he had was endangering others, Odo like alludes to this, but that's not actually what he was doing. You know what I'm trying to say? Like I think that you're right. They're missing a scene where he was a danger to others.
In your mind, that's the only way this is justified?
I just don't see how it's justified at all. But at the same time, I to completely erase his identity. But at the same time, like, yes, Ashley has a point. They are saving his life. They are saving him from Klingon hell. But they're also they're almost like this is almost more cruel in a way, because now they're basically ripping him of any knowledge of who he was. They're basically turning him into like almost like a paraplegic in a sense, like as far as like his memory, like he's
born again
fresh,
Well, okay, but Jeff, they do leave the door open to say, like Bashir says, it will be almost impossible to restore his memory, but not totally like what if they Tony Todd's still alive? What if like they want to bring him back as Kern, where he gets his memory back one day and he is reunited with Worf? Like it's not impossible for them to come back to these characters in this story.
Alexander goes, "Hey, I gave my uncle something important to hold on to. Can you get in contact with him because I need it back?" Like, whoops.
Yeah. What happens if someone says to him,
Alexander?
Like, Alexander walks up to, "Hey, Uncle Kern," and he goes, "Who's Kern? I don't like soft shit." I
am Rodan.
I have no family.
I'm not a rocket man.
That sucks. That last line though, just like rub the salt.
I have no family. Are you part of my family?
Are you part of my family? That's rough. Yeah, that's why me and Road Worf must suffer.
And he walks down the promenade.
Well, and that look that Worf gives to Jadzia before he answers that question is probably the most heartbreaking moment of the episode, like where he kind of just looks down and kind of goes, "I have no family," when he says that. And that's pretty sad.
An alternative take had the Hulk TV show music playing in the background as he walked to the promenade.
Yeah, I think that Worf, I think that this is the circumstances that they wrote themselves into here, and the way and where Kern is as a character by the end of this episode, right before they decide to do this. I get it. Like, I do get it. I think it's the best option for what is available based on where Kern's at, what Worf thinks he can control and not control. And so this is his best option, I guess, other than maybe putting Kern in stasis until...
Why not?
They should have had him... No, they should have had him serve with Dukat. Fighting against Sauron.
Oh, that would have been badass.
On a Klingon ship.
On a Klingon ship.
You'd be like, this Dukat has no honor.
And then Dukat would have killed him and everything would have been fine.
Yep. I think that's kind of what's kind of disappointed about this, and in some ways, like, it's a great episode and it's very sad and it's great, well written, everything's great, and I understand why Tony Todd wanted to do it, but I think they should have brought him back and made him like done a really badass episode of revenge. They gave it to Worf, but Tony Todd come back and was like, giving us some one-liners. I think that would have been fantastic.
He was trying to catch up to Jeffrey Combs in terms of characters, and he's like, "Wait, I get to play two characters in this episode? Yeah, twofer."
He's like, "Want me to do Jake again? I'll do Jake again."
I'll play everyone of his station.
Yeah, does Tony Todd ever have a scene with Avery Brooks in this episode? No, right?
I don't think so.
No.
That would have been sweet.
That's a missed opportunity.
There should be a new Star Trek show where it's just Jeffrey Combs and Tony Todd playing all the characters.
All the characters.
Throw in Robert O'Reilly.
And Vaughn Armstrong, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I do think this ending makes sense from the Klingon perspective, though, because they had themselves a Klingon who had no chance to reach Stovacor, and they basically gave him that chance again, which from the Klingon perspective is the greatest glory.
Greatest honor, except dying in glorious battle.
That is the greatest.
That would be my greatest honor. It was an
So
honorable
I think it works,
movement.
but why does the Federation people go along with it? Is a better question, probably. But I think it does.
I think
work
it's a
on the Klingon.
I think it's a humanitarian thing.
Pretty
Like this is a life. Like I think the other option is like, yeah, Kern would go into stasis until maybe things get better for his house and his honor, I guess, is the only other, but that would be dishonorable to go into stasis. So I don't know. Like it's like this is we gotta wrap this up in 45 minutes. So this is what you get.
Okay. I think that's is that it? Is that we said what we wanted to say about this episode, guys?
Yes.
Can we give a shout out to Michael Dorn's like facial acting? Like
I
when he
love
doesn't
it.
say anything. Like in that scene in Cisco's office where he's trying to explain it to Cisco and Jazeera's just like, no, very clear. There's lots of options for Kern. And the look on Worf's face when she says that's just like, whoa. It was great. So many emotions all at once.
The one thing I definitely thought about too, Davan, in this episode about Michael Dorn is like every time you see him in an interview or you see him play a different character, he's such an affable guy. He's got so much charisma. And then you see him play Worf and he's like Captain Serious,
Yeah.
For him to play, I would imagine offset. He's like playing ping pong and he's like having a few beers and he's kicking it back. And you know what I mean? And then he gets on set and it's like he's got to go into this mode where like he's not like they even make fun of it in this episode where it's like you don't really have a sense of humor, do you? I think Odo says that to him in this episode.
Of all people.
Yeah, he's like, Kira's right. You suck.
Yeah.
On the Enterprise, I was thought of as very humorous.
Brian's like,
must have been one dull ship. Remember that?
What at the convention center with the string quartets?
So like any layman to Star Trek, I think would think Michael Dorn is like kind of a stick in the mud, but he's the exact opposite, and I think that's very interesting and how good of an actor he is. Okay.
Perfect portrayal. Do that.
Son of John.
Son
Yeah,
of John.
KK.
Okay, I am ready to get into some fun facts. There's not too many, so
I think there may be a 47 reference, though. Are you
There is
excited, Dave?
Definitely a 47 reference.
There's
We caught it
absolutely
in the episode.
you caught it. Well, see, now you're looking for it, and now you
I didn't
see it.
catch it. I never do.
Well, see, let's
It might have
start
something
off
to
with
do with the mines.
Let's start off with the 47 reference. 47 reference. Boo.
Just
Okay,
for Dave.
just for Dave. 47. Kira orders
Jaemeel
the
didn't wanna
destruction
hear
of
it.
mines in grids 22 alpha through 47 gamma.
Okay.
He looks visually distressed.
I know.
I
it's
love
so
it.
It's a fantastic 47 reference. I don't know how they keep coming up with them. Keep it coming.
They must know how numbers work.
They know how numbers work, and they are definitely doing it on purpose. Okay. All right. Listen to this one a little bit. I didn't even think about this history, but I think this is fascinating. Cisco's firm refusal to allow the Klingon death ritual aboard a Federation space station resembles a legend commonly told about British India. The story goes that a group of locals petitioned a British official to respect their custom of throwing a widow onto her husband's burning funeral pyre, to which the British official replied that they would have to in turn respect the British custom of holding any man who commits such an action to be guilty of capital murder and bound for the gallows.
Wow.
Is that true or is that just a myth?
It's kind of a legend, but I think it might have been somewhat true.
There is a limit to how far I'll go to accommodate cultural diversity among my officers, and you've just reached it.
And the British had reached theirs. Okay. This episode contains the first hint of a possible attraction between Worf and Jadzia, which we mentioned earlier. This is Tony Todd's second portrayal this season, following up his portrayal as the adult Jake Sisko in The Visitor. Sisko's anger over Worf's attempt to kill Kern mirrors Picard's reaction when Worf killed Duras in the Next Generation episode Reunion. Both captains remind Worf that they cannot accommodate the cultural needs of many of the different races that serve under their command.
Which I think is interesting, right? Like they have to set limits to how much cult. Like the Federation is made up of many planets, and even if you look at just the original 4, like humans, the Andorians, the Tellarites, and the Vulcans, like they're very different, right? Like and they had to find a way to, like, what do we all agree on? What don't we agree on? Or what do we have our own way of doing? And
so they all agree on murder's bad.
Murder's bad.
And Tellarites agree with nothing.
Right. There's nothing. Yeah, on principle.
Well, they're pigmen. I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah, they're jerks. But yeah, like I just think that sometimes I don't know. Like I don't know what to make of it, because obviously you are supposed to be tolerant of other people's cultures, but even if they don't correspond with yours, on the other hand, yeah, you have to stay true to who you are and what your values are. So it's a tough one.
Okay, I think we've seen some variability there, like depending on like who you're surrounded by. Like we've seen that entire Vulcan ship that's part of Starfleet, and they act entirely Vulcan, and they don't want anyone not Vulcan on that ship. So I think, depending on who you're surrounded by, who your commanders are, there's probably a little more wiggle room for different cultural idiosyncrasies.
You know your rebellions will only lead to punitive spiritualism.
Listen, Davan.
Well, yeah, see, they have punitive spiritualism there. Okay, fine. You're right. You're right. I'll settle down here.
Davan, you're getting a little bit excited. We might have to
calm down.
Calm down.
She has lost all control.
You've lost all control over there, Davan. We might have to
I'll
send
do that
you
plexing stuff that they get Reg to do.
We might have to send you to a smaller science vessel. Yeah. Kern's request for Worf to kill him, in a sense, turns the tables on Worf. In the Next Generation episode Ethics, it was Worf who asked Commander Riker to take his life in accordance with Klingon tradition after he suffered a crippling injury. Riker refused after discovering that a close family member should normally be the one to perform the ritual. This is consistent with Kern choosing his brother to do it in this episode.
Yeah, it makes sense why Worf had to go along with it. He'd be a hypocrite if he didn't.
Well, I think when he says only you can give me my honor back. Like it's not like he can get any Klingon to kill him. It has to be Worf.
Worf was the one who took it away from him too.
Right. So he's like, you took my honor and only you can give it back to me. And I think that Kern's argument to him at the beginning of the episode is somewhat persuasive.
Yeah, and Worf can be persuaded.
Yep.
Yeah. But he changed his mind, and I think after he had enough time to kind of get over the guilt, I think that's a lot largely what drove him.
Well, that 45 seconds of yelling, I mean, that really changed him.
Yeah.
Yeah. First appearance of the runabout, the Yukon, guys, replacing the Orinoco, which was sabotaged and destroyed in Arman Bashir. They go through runabouts like water on this show, so get used to it.
Yeah.
Nice pun.
Yeah, thank you.
They're all named after rivers. Get it? Anyway.
That's right.
I got
it. Final appearance of Worf's brother Kern, who previously played it. He appeared in 3 different episodes of Next Generation. Tony Todd got around. Okay, and finally, Worf, Dax, and Bashir erased the memory of Kern without his permission. Kern still has a sound mind, and this action should be a criminal and malpractice for Bashir.
Yep. Who will remember if you can erase the memories of everyone involved?
Dax and Worf aren't talking, and they're only 2 apparently were there.
And we see other people on the peripheral of sickbay, but who knows if they know what the hell's going on.
All their backs are turned. It's kind of like it's a
maybe Bashir did this under the table, not on the level.
Okay, and that's it for the fun facts.
All right, well, thanks for the double F, Jeff. Let's get over into ratings and get this. Wrong screen. All right, get in here. We are rating Sons of Mogh. Let's get this big. Jeff,
I like these type of episodes. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10.
9. Oh, wow. I think this is better than it's given credit for. I think it's about an 8. Jaemeel, I don't know. Jaemeel's saying 7.2. He was here, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't imagine him, did I?
8.5 for me.
8.5 for Ashley.
This episode, it could have been a 10, but it's a 7 because the ending is just lazy.
Yeah. And Davan?
8.5.
Okay, and averaging it an 8 tonight amongst all of us, so an 8 out of 10. Pretty good, like about on where we've been average for the season.
Yeah, no, this is a good episode. I think for me, I rate it high because these type of episodes captivate me. I really get a lot out of them. I see the performances. They're not easy episodes to shoot, but they captivate me because there's a lot to see from everybody's performance, not just one or two people. There's a lot going on, and I like deeper, heavier topics a lot of the time. So for me, it's a good one.
And the episode that's going to come after this is called Bar Association.
Well, let me guess. It's a Cork episode.
Right.
Union.
That's where they want to form a union, right? And is that where the FCC gets them, or no? It's later.
No. I think
Brunt is in this one.
Brunt is in it and threatens him, but this isn't the one where he gets shut down.
It's like the first real Lita episode, isn't it?
Yes.
Like of any significance?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, she hasn't been on the show in a minute, so
yeah, not since Bashir was getting her Fresnelian toddies or whatever he was. Where's that? Fresnelian toddies.
Get to hear about true heroes like Sean O'Brien, a Union man.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
37 bullets they found in him.
Bring me a Fresnelian toddy, very hot.
That was him in Lita. Cough for me. Oh dear.
Oh dear.
You know that there's that one episode. There's that one episode. I think it's the Section 31 episode with Bashir, and he's getting interrogated, and he really wants, I believe, blueberry scones. It always makes me want blueberry scones
and jam.
Oh, and
scones and jam.
Scones and jam. Yeah.
And Tarkalian tea, I think.
Tarkalian tea. That's right. That's what he wants, and he doesn't get it because they're screwing with him. But we'll get to that. Next week's episode, directed by Geordie himself. Leak.
I'm not detecting any leak.
There's a statue here in the future,
and your hand is going up to the sky.
I think I know who Geordie is in First Contact.
Well, we're gonna have a Geordie off here. I can know Geordie.
That's a great segue, Dave. What do we have coming up on all of our wonderful podcast networks?
Well, Jeff, thanks for asking. So we're on Monday nights. We are continuing our quest to watch every episode of the Star Trek the Original series, not in order. We have 4 left. We did one last night. Ashley and I were both on that. We were talking about the Deadly Years. Dad didn't like it. It's about guys getting old. He doesn't like talking about that.
Like old guys.
Doesn't like those old guys.
Old guys don't want to talk about old guys.
He doesn't want to talk about old guys.
He's men in their prime.
The Kirk crotch shots made him uncomfortable.
He only talks about
Dave uncomfortable.
He only talks about the young guys. I don't know what to make of that. Okay, and then so we're continuing that. The next one we're doing is By Any Other Name. That's next Monday. We're talking about that at 10 p.m. next Monday. So check that out. We only got 3 or 4 episodes left, and then when that show ends, we will be starting a Star Trek Enterprise podcast. Right, Kevin?
Yeah.
Been a long road. Yeah, so that's not
yes,
not too.
I agreed. To be
we're probably
honest.
getting started for that for 2022 at this rate. But it's looking good. Of course, we have Deep Space Nine here on Tuesdays. On Thursdays, Davan and I, starting this Thursday, we'll be talking about Star Trek Prodigy along with Jessica Chan. We'll be doing that at 8 p.m. Talking about the first episode, which is called Lost and Found. Don't know much about this show yet, really, other than I've seen like pictures and a few things, but we're going in with who knows what we're gonna get. Jeff, you excited for that?
But we got a wager on when she mentions coffee.
Yeah. Will coffee? Well, the Janeway, because of course Janeway is one of the holograms in that, and she's going to be, in a hologram, but perhaps we'll have holographic coffee.
I've always
First
thought
line.
that.
Yes, first line. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
I've always thought like that's not a thing about you. Like you drink coffee, that's not like a personality trait. I've
People
always thought
treat it
that's-
like a personality trait.
Oh yeah.
That's a weak
It is when it's the only thing you eat.
right, but tea's a little bit more refined. It's a little bit like he drinks Earl Grey tea hot. Like it's a British. I don't know. Coffee, come on.
Well, like Barkley ruined
She
her.
had
and got her on
coffee
tea
and
and
3
like-
bowls of vegetable bouillon in 7 years. Like then it's part of your personality.
That part I agree with, the bouillon, but the coffee is like, whatever. I mean, let's moving on.
Okay, anyway, so Star Trek Prodigy this Thursday. We're talking about that, and then also we are going to be We're going to be bringing back Star Trek Radio Theater for November. We're going to be doing one episode. I don't know what episode yet. We're going to kind of figure out something we really want to do. Probably a next gen episode, and then for December, as we did last year, we'll do a Star Trek movie. Which is much bigger production. And so we've settled on what that movie is going to be. It's going to be Star Trek First Contact. And we're going to that's where we can bring, the movies are great, even though they're way more work in the production side for me, and for the script writing on and everything else with Ashley and Kevin. But it's there's way more roles to go around in a movie. So we can have a bigger cast than
And
like
StreamYard can support it.
And StreamYard can support it. So we're going to get Davan in. We're going to get Adam in. We're going to get as many as we can get in here at a time to do that movie.
Can I play Zephram Cochrane?
He's calling his shot.
Oh,
Yeah.
doobie.
Yeah. I'm looking for naked women. That's what dollar signs.
I don't want to be a statue.
I don't want to be. You told him about the statue?
He was taking a leak.
Reaching towards the future.
Ready to make history.
I went to Zephram Cochrane High School.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
Some kind of Star Trek. I feel like Dad would be a great Zephram Cochrane. So you're all some kind of Star Trek, are you? Yeah. Anyway, so we're doing that. Also, check out our other channels. Super Mater Brothers Podcasting. That's our channel dedicated to non-Star Trek related things, including right now we're doing Survivor Season 41 every Wednesday at 9:30. What 6 or 7 episodes in now. I'll be doing that with Jaemeel and Jeff tomorrow night. If you like Survivor and you want to hear our take, check it out. As well, we did Big Brother earlier in the year. We did both the American Season 23 and the Canadian Season 9. You can also check out our other things like Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast. We're going to be doing Eternals presumably next weekend. We still got to get that What If podcast in too. So,
I think we should also do Squid Game, Dave.
You just want to do a Squid Game one-off?
I think we should do a Squid Game one-off.
Okay, sure. We just got to schedule it, so maybe we just have to we just got to find the time, and then we also what's the other thing? We have Trivial Debates, and it's coming up this month, this week, this Sunday. I'm hosting. I'm working on my panel. I got at least
how your questions.
I don't questions. I'm just trying to get contestants right now. I got Rajesh, Cuddy, Rajesh, and I got Adam Woodward in. But Chris is only able to do it at night. So if anybody wants to volunteer, I could use a contestant.
I can always defend the belt.
Davin's willing to jump into this ring. Okay, so we're gonna be doing a Halloween themed episode. I will get a chat going and we will start this off.
What day is it?
Sunday.
Sunday.
Which is Halloween. We'll do it in like the morning though. It'd be like 11 a.m. your time.
Oh.
Can you do that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Schedule.
Cementing the logistics over the air. It's
over the air, guys. You just watched podcast magic in action. So that's you're welcome.
That's how it happens. That's how it happens
right here. If you make it to an hour and 34 into this podcast, you know. Jeff, take us away.
Hold on.
Oh,
okay, for all of us here.
Wait, hold on. Time out. We still got to plug some stuff.
All right, what do we got, Jaemeel? What do we got to plug? We got like Cooters of Trek. I know. I've.
Oh, you got a digital sticker for me there, Dave?
Yeah,
there we go. My stickers got banned.
There you go.
We now have it.
Yeah,
It's
look,
up there in the
Tutors of
top
Trek.
right corner.
Right there in the corner.
Check it
Right
out.
there.
Our
Check out his
Derek
podcast.
episode is up there, and I just put a video segment in with all these little toys I'm always playing with. We're turning that into some sort of story battle segment thing. It's on the YouTubes. Check it out.
We also have Eamon's show. Let's talk about fighting games. And Kevin Asher, you got anything to plug?
What's going on your Twitter?
What's going on with Instagram? Anything? Nothing. Okay.
No.
Nothing.
All right. They got still nothing, but you know what? They're working on it. It's a work in progress. Okay. For all of us here at Deep Space 9 at 9, there's Dave Bader, the Bajoran Workers, Kevin Nash, Millard, Jaemeel Robinson, Davan, Skelhorn. I've been your host, Jeff Mader. Thank you for joining us on this craziness. Sons of Mogh, Season 4, Episode 15. Live long in Stovacor.
Do you wish to speak, acting ensign Wesley Crusher?